an intro. We got an intro.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe, okay.
We just did 3 intros.
Monkeys go directly to hell.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode, I don't know,
It's
of Guerrilla
105.
Radio Show. Is it actually?
Yeah, it was one. You had it.
Nice. I was right.
Hi,
Welcome to
everybody.
episode
Welcome to
105.
episode 110.
Welcome
You
to
have been in a
episode-
coma for a fucking half a goddamn year. Call your
Welcome.
fucking mom right now. Oh my god, dude.
Dude, wake up. Wake up. Wake up.
They're watching you now.
You need to wake up right now. Don't worry. Daddy's here. Wake up.
You know
Anyway,
daddy's home.
today I'm
This
here
is your
with...
episode, man.
I
Do
know!
what
I
you
know!
want.
What
Now
do you
wait,
think was
well,
gonna happen?
Today I'm here with my favorite co-host, Chandran, and my wobbable plat fuck me, Austin. Today it's the
Wobbable?
rarest. It's one of the
That's a new word.
rarest episodes
lexicon,
that we
wobbable.
have. The wobbable. One of the rarest types of Guerrilla Radio Show episodes. It's one where A, I'm going to be fully conscious for the entire recording, and B, it's my idea. So today we're going to talk a little bit about flock cameras and the panopticon. Okay.
Dude, I
We may have heard a few. Yeah. Austin's going to talk about the panopticon because he told me to read a bunch of things, and quite honestly, I had better things to do.
Have you
so I
not
didn't read
read
them.
Foucault? Do you just like?
I read Foucault. I understand the panopticon, but I read
I
it in
get
like
the
high
idea,
school.
you know.
I get the
it's like
idea.
a circle.
Whatever. Everybody's watching you. Life is kind of like a circle if you think about it.
Explain the Panopticon concept right now and who created the concept, and I'll give you a hint. It's not Foucault.
So imagine you're in a jail, and you have a cylinder stuck inside a tube. All right.
Wait, you got a
How would
cylinder
you
to-
get-
How do I remove?
How do I get
cylinder
How do I
from
get the
tube
cylinder
without
off the tube
destroying the tube?
without injuring the cylinder?
Important. The
Imagine the
cannot be
cylinder-
damaged.
The cylinder is about the size of a tube of M&Ms.
Okay, so
who
how do you
created
want to?
Was it not?
How do you want to
Foucault?
start
Who
this
created
off?
Panopticon?
I don't know. I wanted to talk about how... Listen, look, shut the fuck up. You guys may have heard about flock cameras in your neighborhood, and you may have heard about the recent hullabaloo around people destroying flock cameras in your neighborhood. I am not going to condone any form of stochastic terrorism, except for you should get out there.
I
and
would
knock
never even
those
say the
fucking
word stochastic
cameras down.
terrorism. Honestly, if I were.
Do you think I shouldn't say it?
I would never even say that word, stochastic terrorism.
Yeah,
Oh,
I,
okay.
I would never even imply that
Yeah.
I'm capable of such a thing.
I'm personally not, because I'm a coward, but you should get out there and not only knock down flock cameras, but kill the cicada outside of Chandran's room right now that I can hear incredibly fucking clearly.
It's not my fault. He's trying to fuck.
You have your
Either
window
way.
open.
No, I don't even. The windows are all closed.
Yeah, he's
Either
horny
way.
as fuck.
Just to hijack off of whatever's happening in the current moment in culture, which is something Austin could never do for this podcast. Flock
Punch
cameras.
episode. I gave you the punch episode.
Flock cameras are everywhere. They're in your town. Honestly, it's a real issue that we should
There's
probably
maps
discuss a
and
little
shit.
bit. There's maps and shit. Essentially, you're always being tracked, and your location is always being sold to the state of Israel at a macro level. At a micro level, you're now being tracked not only for like your car, but also your face, your tattoos, stickers on your car. Also, I recently found out they can track your gait, like when you're walking.
Yeah,
That goes
I mean,
into the database. It's the way you walk.
I think the gate analysis is typically, broadly speaking, debunked as like total bullshit. Like it means nothing.
Is it?
But it doesn't mean that the police are not tracking that data because they believe in bunk science, because they're brain
That's
dead
true.
fucking pigs.
So
That's
can
true.
I interject really quick?
You can do whatever you want.
Pretty sure I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but like 2 years ago when I was still at my master's program at UNC Charlotte, I was also raising a big stink about that John Bogdan guy. You know,
I was there.
the war criminal
Doesn't ring a bell.
warden of Guantanamo Bay that was in charge
No
of UNC
idea who
Charlotte's
this guy
security up until
Really? I don't think that ever happened.
honestly he retired around the
Full
time of
honors,
the Palestine
honorably
protests.
discharged.
Yeah, honorably discharged around the time of the Palestine protests. I'm not sure how willing the retirement was because he's like a contractor now. I think I'd like checked his LinkedIn later, and anyways, he's out of there at least. You know, he got a retirement package. But one of the things I rose a stink or raised a stink.
Rose. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
Fuck,
right. You're the English.
I don't think that's a sentence. I don't think that's a sentence. I think
One
you
of the
need to
things
write
I
that a different
raised
way.
a stink about.
Yeah, that's
is
right. That might be
just how many fucking security cameras were put in on UNC Charlotte's campus, because around the time, and I will not confirm nor deny my direct responsibility in more security cameras being put up around
I
campus.
put that red ink in the fountain if you're listening, John.
One of the things that John Bogdan did during his tenure was spend like huge budget increases on putting up security cameras all around campus, but not just any security cameras. In 2024, I tried pushing this around. Nobody really gave a fuck. As always, ahead of my time. There was an article called UNC Charlotte's high-tech security tools. And note that it's never mentioned by name even once, but I just want you to know if this sounds familiar. So the UNC Charlotte police chief said he's somewhat of an old-timer in the law enforcement community, but these methods are very modern. This is the future, he said, as he gave Channel 9 a tour of the surveillance tools. There are more than 2,000 cameras on campus, including in parking lots and decks. The cameras not only see, they are connected to analytics. For example, police can enter a description of a suspect into the system, and the technology will get to work. You can look at search analytics for gender, perhaps a person's hair color, or their approximate age. A couple of weeks ago, a road rage suspect drove into a parking deck, and the investigation was wrapped up in less than a day because of the cameras and technology on campus. You're talking about sometimes days, maybe even weeks, that it could take a law enforcement agency to put together the information, and we can put it together in maybe an hour, depending on what it is. When you walk onto this campus or you drive onto this campus, there's a really good chance if you commit a crime, we will arrest you. If you go to the vehicle, we can look for vehicle colors, types, trucks, buses. This is allegedly a tool that the College of Computing built for them, but it sounds like maybe...
I love the College of Computing and Informatics at UNC Charlotte.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
What year was this article posted, by the way, Austin?
2024. It actually looks like it's...
That's the last year of John Bogdan's tenure there.
I will say, if you... They posted a close-up picture of one of the cameras, and it says Avigilon. I'm thinking it's the same, like, AI security. We'll get into this more, I'm sure. I don't want to steal your whole
No, it's
sparkle.
okay. You've been talking for fucking 5 minutes.
AI has rendered
It's okay.
privacy completely impossible because of just the nature of the tool itself, is that it can gather information from anywhere and connect it instantly. So there's websites where you can put in someone's email and it'll show them like their fucking Webkins login from when they were 10 years old.
Yeah.
So from what I can tell,
there's-
Avigilon is a full system, like a software as a service company. They sell you the security cameras, they sell you the software that keeps them together, and they sell you the AI/algorithmic algorithm.
So
that
different from
identifies
Flock,
things.
but the same concept.
I think yeah. I mean, Avigilon I think is not just throwing shit up for fun and making people pay for it later. I think they're like doing it the old-fashioned way, where they go and they get a client and they are paid to put things up before they just start doing shit willy-nilly.
Yeah, I think that's something we should touch on a little bit in here. Is like there's a huge backlash to Flock right now. People know what Flock cameras look like. They're very obvious in most cases. They're on their own pole or they're attached to a pole and they look a certain way. There are dozens of companies that do the same thing as Flock. They're just not as high profile. They're not, I don't know. Flock is like the Chat GPT of these AI surveillance tools. They advertise themselves. They want to be seen. That is part of their brand. There are dozens of others. And one thing that I think people are starting to catch on to, and I don't know if it will stick because nothing really sticks in the cultural milieu that we have going on right now, but most cities that are canceling their Flock camera contracts are just getting a new contract with one of these more discreet companies. There are a few, and I can't pull names out of my ass right now, but they're mounting the cameras in more hidden locations. They're mounting them to utility poles. They're mounting them in fake transformer boxes that go on utility poles. And they do the same thing. They track you. They track your movements. They know who you are. They know where you go. It's the same idea. And the Flock backlash is great. It's cool that we have kind of a movement in the United States that seems to be very organic. That's pushing back against these mass surveillance tools. Although I will say from a very like realist perspective, we're 26 years too late.
The time to panic was before Edward Snowden leaked all that shit about the NSA.
Yeah. The time to panic was the day they passed the Patriot Act, right? Surveillance in this country has already been going on for quite a long time. But the powers granted to our security apparatus in this country within the wake of the Patriot Act really made your own personal privacy impossible. Not only do you have no anonymity left because everybody is on the internet and it's very easy to trace a person on there, but you're you could never use a cell phone. You could not have a fucking Gmail account. And the government still kind of knows where you are and everything that you do.
There's no off-grid anymore unless you just like never go to Walmart ever in your life, I guess. I don't know.
Like the only way to truly like stop being tracked and traced by the security apparatus in this country is probably to sell all of your worldly possessions, have no bank account, and move to a third world country. And you can't do it in opulence. You have to go become a villager
if you're
in a
in
third world country.
You got most of the job done already.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, surveillance is a first world issue. I wonder, okay, so this is not a part of the notes or anything at all. I wonder how, so, when we talk about post-colonial studies, when we talk about, how empire works, we think about the barracks becoming the police station, right? The tactics we do out in the colony will come back and hit us at home in the metropole.
Yeah.
But maybe this is a genuine question because I might just be ignorant here. Like, what does surveillance look like outside of the metropole? Because I know for a long time, famously, London was the most surveilled city in the world. It probably still is. And this is like a little tidbit, little factoid I've had in the back of my head for a long time. I can't verify it, but something I've known, whether or not it's true, is that London is the most surveilled city in the world. And I think London kind of is the goddamn, apotheosis, the pinnacle of what is the metropole.
Yeah.
So, when we think about the idea of, this, the colonial boomerang, is that what it's called? The imperial boomerang?
Yeah, the imperial boomerang.
When we think about that, like, surveillance is almost not like, it's kind of like separate from it. It's on a different plane of like control. It's a different plane of like the imperial operation tactics, right?
Yeah.
It's something employed in the metropole, employed in the first world, and why? And
what
how?
are you asking? What are you asking?
I don't know.
Are you asking how this is employed in the third world, or are you asking why do we employ it the way we do in the first world?
I'm really just wondering, how has this already been proven in the third world? How has this technology already been proven
I will
in the third
answer
world,
this
if it
question.
has or not?
I've got an answer too if it's not the same as yours.
Y'all both give me an answer to it.
So there are a few places that this has been proven in the third world as an effective tool for whatever you may want to call it. I have two examples. So the first and most obvious example is Israel. as a tool against Palestinians to track movements, to try and identify people. One of the reasons that so many AI startups, all this bullshit, it all comes from Israel, is it's an Israeli attempt to streamline, speed up, and lessen the man hours required to track Palestinian movements, to figure out who they are, where they're going, why they're going there, and how can we eliminate them. That is the Israeli answer to this. Another
So
very
you're telling
good-
me that they're sort of in this enclosed space they can't leave, and they all have like
it might be the
personal
panopticon.
identification codes assigned to them almost.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's
another
interesting. I
good
wonder if there's any
example-
parallels.
Yeah, another good example is Rio. So Rio also is a very, very heavily surveilled city. It has only become so in the last like 15 to 20 years. And part of why you hear a lot less there's a lot less frequency to like massive shootouts in the favelas. And then you hear about the few there are a lot more because there's a lot more video of them, is due to this crackdown by the Brazilian state in the slums of Rio. It's a tool for I don't. It's hard to. Brazil's a very weirdly governed place. If it's governed at all.
I thought
in a
Lula
lot
had
of
solved all
places.
the problems in 2016. I thought it was all fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Well, I
Rio
guess
is
I guess
a
not.
very, very heavily surveilled, but basically because Brazil lacks the money, manpower, and willpower to do anything about the social conditions that cause the social issues and unrest that exist in the slums. They shouldn't have slums is really answer number one. But number two, if you're going to have slums, they better be well-controlled slums. That's something that the South Africans learned during apartheid. It's something that the Israelis have learned in Palestine. And it's something, honestly, a good example might be India.
I love India.
Bread in circuses kind of keeps unrest from forming. So there's a lot of distribution programs in the favelas, a lot of things like that, and they're all heavily surveilled. So that you can identify the troublemakers and take care of them. Extrajudicial killing is huge there, just like it is in Israel, just like it was in apartheid South Africa.
Just like it was in apartheid America.
Just like
Yeah.
it was in apartheid America. If you can identify these people clandestinely, you can also clandestinely eliminate them. You don't have to go through the courts.
I do
So-
have a connection that I finally just made, but I want Austin, I want you to go first. But
Oh yeah, I mean, I had a couple things. So, first of all, with regards to how this surveillance state has sort of manifested in the third world, or I guess we'll say, sort of enemy states of American imperialism or the hegemon.
the colonized world.
I think the most obvious example that comes to most people's minds is satellite and drones. Like, you know, how they allegedly located Osama, is, you know, satellite imagery of his compound, and, you know, sending it, you know, you can send drones anywhere with like thermal vision, yada yada, especially now with how cheap drones are to manufacture and all that. But the other thing is, and this is something that, if you were a part of our book club, the first book we read for this year was the Fort Bragg Cartel, all about how the special forces
Delta
the-
Force.
right,
specifically.
Delta Force specifically, usually, although I guess maybe the Green Berets and others do dabble a bit, but there's a lot about how they tracked people and identified terrorists in, you know, the Middle East in the early 2000s. And what they did was they killed a guy, they went through his phone, they tracked the cell signals of everyone who had called that phone, basically, and killed all of those people, and then took their phones, tracked the cell signals, and killed all the people they had called. So that, you know, you can see maybe how the death toll got to like nearing 1 million. in
Staggering
those
fucking
years.
numbers.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you mentioned the Fort Bragg cartel, because another thing that is very obvious, and I just, you know what? I think here's the actual distinction I think my query was leading to in the first place, which is this is border points. This is passports. And these are things that mean something to us in America, but mean something very different in the colonized world. Like, especially like in Jordan, in Gaza, in the Middle East, right? For a very long time and still today, border points are like in between cities, right? You have paperwork that lets you move from city to city. That's how you are being tracked or rather outside of the metropole. But that would not fly within the cushy confines of empire. So we have to invent a frictionless way to track the subjects of empire within empire itself. I think this is honestly this kind of idea of how do we create a frictionless version of the violence that we export overseas. We obviously talk about the imperial boomerang a lot. Something I feel like we could probably use a little bit more discourse today is like how those systems become uninvasive and then deployed within the metropole. Flock is one of those ways, right? You have no interaction with Flock whatsoever, but it will be able to. It is the border.
It knows you.
It is the checkpoint guard. It's keeping track of you wherever you go, every single turn you make in the street, right? So I guess maybe that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I had this itch, and I wanted to think about this idea of like Flock is like the imperial boomerang coming back around, but now it's frictionless. Now you don't have to think about it.
Well, it's
another. Go ahead.
I mean, you mentioned borders and border checkpoints. I mean, the whole point is that this is an extension of the state, and the state is, a method of control. There's actually a pretty good essay I once read from, I'm going to butcher this name, I'm so sorry, Begonia Arezaga. I don't know. It's called What the Border Hides, Partition and Gender Politics of Irish Nationalism. It's basically about passing through the arbitrary British imposed border between, Northern Ireland, and what that entailed for people's everyday lives, just trying to move through areas which were once unrestricted, which are now like, you're suspected of being an IRA terrorist and searched if you try to go anywhere throughout your own goddamn home. So,
okay.
Yeah, what was your thing, though?
Another huge thing that, especially with Flock, to be noted, is that it's not a service that is only sold to government agencies and government entities. It is something that can be sold to private corporations. So one thing I've noticed, because I spent some time on the Flock map yesterday, is what appears to me to be one of Flock's largest private customers is Lowe's Home Improvement. And I have some theories on that, but we're gonna talk about it a little bit more. So there are lots of municipalities. Let me fucking talk.
I'm putting it in my mind. I'm rotating it around. I see exactly where you're getting at. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of municipalities across the country that have ended their contracts with Flock in one way or another. I will say there have been many municipalities that have ended their contract with Flock, and I can't find one fucking article that shows that Flock is actually showing up to take their cameras down. Do with that what you will. But here's a good example. Once you
let the devil in.
Yeah. I lived in Vermont for about a year. One important thing about Vermont is that most of the sign behind your head. Yeah, most of the cities and towns there have no contract with Flock. It's kind of an unofficial policy there that they don't do Flock. There are, I think, 15 Flock cameras in the whole state. 2 of them are at a border patrol checkpoint on that interstate. That point one in each direction. Those are owned by the Vermont State Police. All of the other ones are at every Lowe's Home Improvement in the parking lot in Vermont. They always have 2 that point towards the store and 2 that point off of their property onto the street. That data is also being sold back to Flock and also shared with police departments around the country. So even if your municipality doesn't have a contract with Flock, has said that they won't have a contract with Flock, and has, for all intents and purposes, gotten rid of these surveillance cameras, you're still being tracked by private businesses who are still sharing that data with Flock, who are still reporting on your every fucking movement. So if you work on one side of town, you have to drive to the other side for work, and you drive past a Lowe's, well, now they know you're going back and forth each day. They can still track you. They can still identify your car. They can identify you. So that one day there's a protest in your town that you go to, and you drive past that fucking Lowe's. Now they know you were there because that doesn't meet your normal schedule. Maybe you were driving fast. Maybe you were in your car and you looked a little fucking shaken. They can track you. The other thing, the obvious thing, with them being weirdly at every fucking Lowe's in the country, is who the fuck stands outside of Lowe's looking for work? Immigrants. Day laborers, many of Lowe's, and I will say, especially when I lived out west, you'd see it a lot. They wait out there. They, some contractor comes by, says, "I need 3 people. Get in the truck. Let's go. I pay you cash." Now those people can be identified and tracked, and a lot of them are undocumented migrants from Latin America. So it's just, there's layers to this that go beyond your municipality having a contract with Flock. Or, like in the case of Asheville, where I live, the city is ending their contract with Flock. The city of Asheville will no longer have Flock cameras. Do you know who will? The Buncombe County Sheriff Department. Where's their jurisdiction? The city of fucking Asheville. So the cameras don't go away.
It just doesn't. I think part of this is like the ineffectiveness of municipal politics. Like city councils being woke doesn't matter because the police are just an organized armed gang that's allowed to use the full violence of the state on whoever they like, basically.
Yeah. It's kind of unbeatable. I don't really know. Like, it really, we keep
It's
more and
over,
more
guys.
often, more often in this country, every week, we keep bouncing up against this thing, and it's happening with a higher and higher frequency, where people kind of hit a wall and they go, "I don't think electoral politics works," and then they bounce back down. And it's just happening faster and faster and faster because, like, you can't vote your way out of flock cameras. First off, the entire opposition party loves them. They love those fucking things. That's why they don't say anything about it. And it's why you only get shitty little municipal politicians who want to be reelected by 12 votes, who will say, I'll end the contract with Flock. And then they'll go and vote for a data center that powers the goddamn Flock cameras. So you can't really win. You butt up against electoral politics being a complete farce in this country. There is no representative body for most people. And also, most people are incredibly fucking dumb. And they also love it. And they also love it. People keep going, oh, there's so much opposition. There's so much opposition to this administration, to Trump, to the Republicans. There's not. There's 380 million people in this country.
There's people who are opposed.
40% of them, 40% of them are politically engaged. 20% of them oppose this.
Here's the
you're down into the tens of millions.
There's people who are opposed to individual ideas. Like there's a lot of Republicans who dislike these big data centers that are powering the Flock cameras and AI technology. And there's, I think like 70% of voters polled are against new data center construction, because they're not creating any jobs. But we are harnessing a cultural moment to sort of be against like this massive expansion of AI technology because it's clearly being weaponized by the state. But, after 9/11 happened and all these changes to airport security happened, and there was sort of this ambient question of, okay, well, when's it going to go back to normal though? 25 years later, it's only gotten stricter.
Yeah.
Like we talked about last episode with like the creation and aggregation of new knowledge, with technology and the encroachment of the state, there's no going back. It's a ratchet. You can't undo something that's been put into motion. And all this AI stuff is making a permanent panopticon, not only for the state, which is, ostensibly who it's for, but for us to use on ourselves and each other, because the whole idea of the panopticon is self-policing. Theoretically, with the panopticon, the idea is that you are in this circular prison cell and there's a guard in the middle. The guard can see you, and, if you do anything wrong, he'll see it and sound the alarm, but you can't see the guard. theoretically, after enough conditioning, the Panopticon is completely unstaffed. No one's in there because people are like, well, I know if I do something wrong, then I'm going to get caught, and I don't know if the guard is there or not, so I have to assume he's there. With the huge wave of people who got fired from their jobs and like exposed and had their addresses posted online after the Charlie Kirk thing, the way people did that is they just went on any of these dime a dozen AI websites where you buy a couple tokens and you type in someone's username or their email, and it just gives you everything. The AI
it tells you
like
everything that can be known about you.
Like in seconds, searches every data leak ever to connect it to, certain consumer accounts which have names on them that are stored in another data leak that are associated with this known address or this voter registration. And within a couple seconds, with someone's username, you can just go to their house. So there is no anonymity online anymore, especially, but just in general. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about with regards to that I think we'll cover if you want me to take it in the monkey direction yet, or if you still want to keep going.
I mean, let's talk the last little thing I wanted to talk about here with this was, I think...
Then I'll go monkey mode.
Yeah, then you can go monkey mode for me. Part of this, like, constantly being watched. We've been getting preconditioned for it for the better part of the last decade and a half.
20 years, maybe.
20 years. Social media as a concept has conditioned, especially people our age and younger. I would say our generation is pretty conditioned in this way. Yeah. For you to act a certain way all the time because you don't know if you're being watched. It's been a thing since nightclubs have been invented, I'm sure. But there's always a group of dudes standing in the corner who don't dance, who don't do it, just stand there. But if you go into a club right now, today, 95% of people are doing that. Because you don't know if someone's videoing you to clown you on Twitter or on Instagram or on TikTok and be like, look at this dork, right? Everyone is having to present themselves in a very specific way.
As if they're always being watched by a guard, perhaps?
As if you're always being watched. I can tell you, I do it. I do it all the time. I'm doing it right now. Ever since we started doing video episodes, I have to hold myself in a very particular way because I'm being watched. And I
can't
find
even
myself
eat my boogers or nothing.
But I find myself doing the same thing. I find myself doing the same thing at home alone or at work, at my desk when nobody's there. Because you never know you never know if someone's going to like fucking look at this dork, right? It's a constant thing. And people put on these personas that they then carry forever. And sometimes the bit gets carried too far. And you become the person you think you see. The greatest example of becoming the bit, right, is like fucking clavicular. Like that's someone who their whole world is perception. What do I look like I'm doing? What does everyone think I'm doing? You can be doing nothing at all. But if you're not being perceived, you're good. You're good.
Clavicular is the perfect subject created by the ego of the Trump project. Like
low key.
Yeah, like the perfect
He's like Peter Thiel's
Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Everything is
Peter Thiel's monster.
Very, very carefully curated. They're all fucking Patrick Bateman characters. Like they're all like psychopaths, but it's very curated because you're always being watched. You can't do anything without someone knowing you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
This is why it's radical to shoplift.
You can't even shoplift anymore because if you like slightly
$500 threshold, everyone.
Checkout, then they're gonna come over and play the fucking cuck footage back to you to humiliate you.
I've had the cuck footage played at me a couple.
Here's a real thing.
You steal at mom and pop stores. And you put it right in your pocket and you walk out.
Here's an experiment Jaden and I have conducted. So we both have arm tattoos, right? We go to Ingles. We go to the self-checkout. If my sleeves are down, it never fucking freaks out. Because you guys all know, you go to the self-checkout, sometimes it just freaks the fuck out at you. And everything you scan, it's like, fucking do that again! No! You didn't scan it! If my sleeves are up, it fucking flags me every single fucking time. My sleeves are down,
because
no
you're
problem.
white trash.
No, yes. Yes. But it does the same thing. It does the same thing to Jaden. If the tattoos are visible, it'll fucking constantly flag you, and you have to wait in shame while it flashes above your head, and you have to wait for
criminal.
Yeah, you have to wait for some 15-year-old to come fucking unfuck the machine.
Excuse me, heroin addicted teenager. Can you please assist me in purchasing this thing to shove up my ass?
Yeah, excuse me. I'm trying to buy 3 bell peppers and a box of pasta. Can you help me? Like, now, let's be real. I'm stealing, okay? But they don't see that part. Okay? We all steal from the grocery store. You're doing it. I know everyone at home has been like, damn, $18 for deodorant? Pocket. All right? It's what we do. Now,
It's what they have insurance for. Come on.
Also, there's a flock camera in my Ingles parking lot.
They're in all the
owned
Walmarts
by Ingles.
near just the Charlotte area, I think, too.
No, they're in the Walmarts here too. They're everywhere. They're all over the fucking place.
Probably in every single Walmart across the goddamn country.
I went on the little the flock map the other day, and I was like, I wonder how many times it sees me going to work. Dude, like 2 or 3 dozen times. It's like it's tagging me.
I haven't
when
put
I
my
go to
license
work.
plate in there in a while. Let me put it in again.
There's been no new data on the license plate thing in like 2 fucking years. But when I put my plate in, I've been searched by like 5 departments, none of which I've ever lived near. And somebody's typing in my plate.
They thought it was Google search. They were trying to be Gorilla! Take me to gorilla.com, please.
Take me to Gorilla.
Speaking of gorilla,
there we
shall
go.
I send
That's
it?
a segue. That's a
Yeah,
segue.
that's a fucking segue. So there's a question of how do monkeys, because monkeys are sort of like in the zoo, they're sort of constantly being observed. It's sort of like a sick experiment in a way if you're, a pessimist about it, a glass half empty kind of guy.
Which we are.
Right. Since the 70s, there's been studies about how being observed by visitors creates a rise in cortisol levels of pretty much any animal being observed at the zoo. It can increase aggression in some primates, reduce affiliative behaviors, like you're less likely to be social. Like you're not these monkeys aren't dancing in the nightclubs anymore. They're afraid they're going to be caught in 4K. I think in some cases, this study said it increased sexual behaviors in chimps, which was odd. I don't know if I'm prepared
I don't think
to
that's
unpack
odd.
that one yet.
I am. I'm going to unpack it right now.
Okay. They're trying. The Mossad is taking him out before he can finish.
It's the same way. It's the same way with the way people interact socially now, that they're all constantly being surveilled. The only behaviors that people can confidently do are like ritualistic sexual mating displays, right?
Mogging, dude.
I want to say with confidence that if, for example, OnlyFans existed before the internet and it was like a Playboy style service, and you had to order a fucking magazine for each OnlyFans model, it would not be anywhere near successful. It is because of that digital marketing, because sex sells, and we're in a world where you're always being sold something, that the lowest common denominator of advertisement is sex. And so what can you put on display to sell yourself as a person? Whether you're a content creator like that or whether you're a regular person, it's be sexy. It's be sexy. Put the one thing that you can sell out all the time, at every possible public juncture. Show that you're virile, right? It is a base urge of mammals and of most animals to show that you're sexually healthy. So you have to constantly do these little displays.
That's an interesting theory because, I mean, part of, normal chimpanzee behavior, sexual behavior as well, is being able to covertly mate with higher ranking females than you would typically be allowed to. But if you're constantly...
Hold on, pause.
Yeah?
I don't say this. I'm going to preface this with...
Greg's going to start a rant about hypergamy.
No. Your boy, me, is not a misogynist.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what Austin just said, being able to have sex in a covert way with different status chimps, okay? You know how, ever since the advent of social media, a 4 from Houston, Atlanta, Vegas will get caught out by exposing the fact that they have been fucking someone with the same social standing as, like, Kawhi Leonard. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing.
I mean,
it all has to be on display.
You could have phrased that perhaps less misogynistically, but yeah, sure.
But it's the same idea, right? At the base level, like we are the same. Literally, we are in the same family of social animals as a chimp. Like it's the same kind of idea. Displaying the sexual
like when that random Instagram model was like, Drake, I have your son.
Yeah, but like when you're being constantly surveilled, it's more valuable to show your promiscuity than it is to hide it, because it's the opposite sense of social standing.
I mean,
a good example in human cultures,
I guess, but
a good example in human culture is quite literally the French. Look at their relationship. Look at the like French cultural mindset around relationships and sex. It's different, obviously, than like our very English influenced concept of those things. And so there's a different. Your promiscuity and your social worth are tied closer together in that culture than they are to us. And like,
and the French are in essence apes.
At best, they're Denisovans.
Okay. Speaking of French pedophiles, I still gotta get to Foucault. But regarding your point, I mean, I guess I can see the case, but I'm hesitant to agree without like actually reviewing.
Why, you don't like my bunk science?
Without actually reviewing the study that this came from, which I'd have to do at a later time. But
it's hard to study the French. They're so inscrutable.
It came from me in Instagram Reels. I did it all by myself.
As of right now, though, what has been established definitively, no correlations or anything, is that being surveilled does spike your cortisol level, looks maxers, so, keep that in mind. There is a greater increase in cortisol related to the crowd size and noise level, which is why many zoos utilize methods of making the apes unaware that they're being observed, either, one-way glass or like netting or other sorts of obfuscations that prevent the apes from really seeing all the visitors, because I mean they still know that there's visitors, and there's a delicate balance being struck here, right? Because not all cortisol is a bad thing. Like some level of stimulation is necessary for social beings, because if you're just staring at the same blank wall all day, fucking nothing's happening in your brain. It's when it becomes a high enough spike that it becomes dangerous or has some sort of adverse negative or mental health effects, which, by the way, in humans, it does. There's several studies I actually linked to in this little document we have. One about just like self-reported feelings of mental health degradation in correlation with awareness of the security state, and also like a pretty thorough analysis of the psychological impact of being constantly fucking monitored at work among workers that they studied, which is maybe not a new thing, but it's certainly increased pretty drastically with COVID, like how Zoom, like cameras on at all times. If your camera moves a little bit, it'll be flagged and we'll have to review it. You know, we need to see you at all times. If you go idle, then you're not working and you're fired. Those expectations sort of transferred when they decided, you know, the control being offered that they didn't even have before the pandemic was not enough. So they needed to move everyone back into the offices, no more remote jobs, so that they can, you know, put a little camera in there to watch everyone at all times and constantly check in, which, I mean, my dad had a job once where there were cameras everywhere, and if he stopped working for even a second, his, like, psycho, like, I think he was like a Honduran immigrant, small business owner would just come in and just like yell at him, like, "Why did you stop working? You're still on the clock." Like insane.
The West's biggest Nazis are always its brownest men.
It would seem so.
But I first became aware of the concept of apes being sort of stressed out by constant observation and crowd size at the Brookfield Zoo in Chicago, where they had a sort of reverse panopticon structure where there's this platform with, I think it was gorillas, but the orangutans too, are on this platform, and then there's just a walkway surrounding the platform with this, you know, empty moat space between it, and so you can circle around and look at them from all angles, and the apes can't escape your gaze. When I got there, half of that walkway was blocked off, and said, like, for the apes' mental health, you know, we're blocking off this observation area. And I was like, huh. Yeah, I guess it is nice to let the apes retreat from being publicly viewed, even though that pisses off so many entitled zoo guests who are like, "Dude, I can't see the animals right now. Give me my fucking money back."
Idiots. Everyone is fucking stupid. I don't like Chandran. You know, because you work with the general public.
I totally agree with those zoo goers. If I go to the zoo, I want to see the fucking animals. They can. I mean, that's true. They can.
I mean,
have their
there
alone time.
is a balance because it's like, why would you pay money to not see an animal? You know, but at the same time, you know, if you're dedicating yourself to animal well-being, you have to give them the option to not be seen by a crowd. But that's just, it's unsatisfying for a lot of people. So there's tricks to get around it. You know, statistically, not all of the animals will be hiding that day. And if they are, you know, there's little like shows or keeper talks you can put on to like engage guests with animals that are always comfortable with going out. You know, that's why a lot of places with seals will always be doing that type of shit.
Seals are completely fucking unbothered. It's so cool.
Seals and sea lions are very fun.
They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck at all.
They love it. They're like, handstands? Yes, I absolutely love doing handstands.
Because they're like dogs. That's like another thing is like when you go to the zoo, the apes are always the hardest, and it's because they are the smartest things at the zoo.
Because they don't give a fuck. They've seen humans before. They don't care after a certain point.
But like animals that are always like you'll always see the big cats. They're always out there because they're not bothered, right? Predator animals are generally less bothered by you watching them because they know they can fuck you up. And they're usually high. Like, you know, you go see like the leopards and shit. They're always like up in a fucking tree in their enclosure looking down at you. You're not looking at them. They're looking at you. But like prey animals, that's why they're like, you go to the zoo and you see like animals with like a natural predator. Give me one quick. Give me an animal with a natural, like a common zoo animal that's like a prey animal.
The penguin?
No.
I don't know.
Their predators are in the water. Give me a land animal that is like a prey.
Gazelle.
No, fuck you. You know what's a better one? The prairie dogs. They're always in a very like fucking obvious place, the prairie dogs, because they don't really escape, and they just got their mound, but you never fucking see them. It's always just a mound of dirt and like one like pokes his head out every now and then because they're fucking prey animals. They're terrified of you all the fucking time.
Yeah,
they're gonna get like scooped up by a hawk, a regular hawk, not a zoo hawk. Like those are animals that could be eaten.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that, other than
I know what you mean. I mean,
they got fucking flock cameras in Cherokee.
Jesus
Of course
Christ.
they do. It's so that the North Carolina...
All by the casinos and shit.
It's so the state troopers can track your ass buying weed back to wherever you live.
Yeah, if they see you leaving, they're gonna pull you over because they're gonna hit the jackpot on that Cherokee weed.
Yeah,
but,
they know.
Which did happen to someone recently in like Minnesota, I think. But anyways, so with zoo animals, the tricks of like covering the enclosure so that the apes don't necessarily know that they're being watched, that doesn't work with humans because our subconscious has been trained to acknowledge this constant monitoring in our society, and we can associate abstract symbols like cameras, computer cookies, digital footprints, etc., with surveillance. Constant surveillance, especially at work, is associated with markedly increased anxiety to the point of mental dysfunction or disorder, which, we just talked about. Just knowing about the surveillance state, the Edward Snowden WikiLeaks files were like a fucking mental health nuke to this country.
Yeah.
But it's for the best that we know about it. But like now that we know about it and we know that it's happening and we can't do anything about it, it's just making people fucking paranoid. Like you got regular ass dudes with like the Graphene OS Google Pixel phones that if you type in the dummy code, it wipes all their data. Dude, they don't even got nothing on there.
Do you know, that's what fucking Snowden did to my brain. When I was like fucking 13 years old, 12 years old, I guess it was 2014, right? Yeah, that makes sense. When I was 13, 14 years old, when the Edward Snowden shit dropped, I went fucking insane. I became a lunatic. Linux on all of my fucking shit. I fucking had an Android. I broke that shit open. I was like, okay, I'm locking all of this down. I became a fucking lunatic. It drives you crazy when you look into the heart of the matter for even more than a second. When you allow yourself to
the deeper in you try to get, the more you realize you have to do before it's just like, fuck it, I need to leave.
No, I will say I had that moment and I freaked out and I realized, you know what? I don't have the fucking money or time to make myself invisible. Fuck it. If they want to come get me, they can. So come get me. Fucking get me.
The other thing about like all these encryption things is even if the security state can't unencrypt the shit that you're sending, which they can still see that there's encrypted data there and sort of just keep it for when they can unencrypt it later with more sophisticated technology. So like,
and that's one of the other big things with these large language models is like they're very good at data analysis. They're very good at
they're incredible.
Running...
Like they've revolutionized it for better or worse.
For better or worse, like in a better world, these are a revolutionary technology that lifts up billions of people. In the reality that we live in,
it goes back to the base and the superstructure. You see,
yeah. In the reality that we live in,
is that Adorno's music?
Yeah, and I mean, there's a huge a lot of the people who are like anti-AI, they're coming at it from a very Luddite perspective. Like,
right?
I will say, me personally, I think the technology is really cool. Like the technology itself is super fucking interesting. It's super cool that we've managed to not only trick a rock into thinking, but trick a rock into thinking so well that we have now, and especially in the last few months, like broken a lot of mathematical walls that we've been stuck behind for the last 100 years, because we can simply throw electricity at the problem until it figures it out. It's super duper fucking cool. I think it's an interesting technology. I think it probably will do good things for humanity in the future. But the people who run them all are psychopaths. Everybody who owns an AI company is an absolute fucking psychopath, like in the hands of an intelligence agency. So, we're just using them as these tools of mass surveillance, weapons of mass destruction in a lot of ways. Even though at a baseline, technology is cool. It's like the guy who invented the Gatling gun also invented, what did he invent? Some vaccine for something? That guy did something else that was cool.
I mean, I'm glad you said that because, like, cool. The surveillance state is being used to punish us. The capitalist state, our current state, our global order and that's not me being like kooky. I'm just saying that's just what it is. We associate the surveillance with negative stimuli because the surveillance is only used to punish us. We're being trained. In Foucault's Discipline and Punish, the judicial system developed alongside class society until it became the security state that we see intensifying today. It used to be that God or those godly, the ruling class, which in Nietzsche's morality, the ruling class was traditionally morally good and the subjects were morally bad, and that's why the villages are called villages because the root word for villain, that's how fucked shit was back then. But moving on, basically God determined guiltiness by his word, the word of God, or people who were upper class and so closer to God, they were viewed as more trustworthy. So part of the justice system prior to, the invention of the courts and stuff, people would be tortured to death by confessors as a form of punishment. If you died quickly, it was seen as God protecting you. So, maybe you were innocent. God wanted you to die quickly, so he took you to heaven faster. If you died slowly, though, it was seen as evidence of God making you serve part of your sentence as punishment for your deeds committed in the earthly realm. So it's like, well, he's definitely guilty. He survived our torture for several days on end.
This is I like this thought process. This makes a lot of sense to me.
I'm going to put Austin on the breaking wheel.
So with increasing secularism and individualism, or the production of rights based on the fact that laborers are now producing value for society, it became necessary to actually provide proof or evidence in the service of truth for legitimacy's sake. So fast forward to now, where technology has allowed us an almost impossibly precise approximation of truth and evidence, as well as with AI the ability to fabricate the truth entirely, which is a whole other thing.
We've been able to fabricate the truth for a long time.
Well, right, that's
AI,
true.
Like you said, the time to worry about Flock was 20 years ago. The time to worry about manufactured narratives was 50 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
You ever heard of a guy called what's his fucking name again?
Joseph Goebbels?
Chomsky, I think. Oh, the same guy, basically.
Yeah, basically the same guy.
I mean, Goebbels invented the big lie, or at least put it to words.
Oh, you're right.
Put that idea to words, which had been in existence since the advent of mass media, which is why I personally think we should go back in time and
smash the printing press.
Yeah.
So like with
Gutenberg,
with evidence, this focus on truth and evidence, you can see crimes and be judged based on the fact that the crimes happened. It's not a judgment of your moral character anymore, of your goodness necessarily. It used to be even like early court systems, like if you could prove that you were insane, then you wouldn't be charged with the crime at all because, it wasn't in your heart. That was the mental illness or the demons talking. I want to posit the fact that surveillance and knowing about each other isn't necessarily a bad thing in and of itself, because it's sort of how we self-regulate without these barbarian punishments. So, for example, early internet, people on 4chan were completely anonymous. They were just straight up posting child porn. You can't do that anymore, which is a good thing, but that is because of technological advancements. But there's an obvious mismatch of the working class's interests with the state's, and the state is who controls the security, the surveillance apparatus.
You see, I'm not going to blow anybody's mind here, but it's crazy that with nobody's consent ever, they just put cameras around the entire fucking country.
It's everywhere.
Nobody
They're
ever
literally
said,
fucking everywhere.
Yeah, let's do this.
Right.
And now we have to opt out of it. We live in an opt-out society. The state is
even
simply
more
acting
insane,
upon us, and we have to tell them to stop doing things.
Is your local government, you person at home, did this. They did it.
They have
even outside of the municipalities, even outside of the government, private businesses will still do this, right? This is the thing.
Right, like,
this is the fundamental issue with private property.
They can just do whatever. Like, they can circumvent your stupid-ass city government and do whatever they want.
They could put... Congress could fucking
consent.
pass a
No
ban on government agencies owning flock cameras, and just every goddamn business would have one.
So, because of this mismatch of interests, the surveillance is used explicitly for the benefit of private property. And so, even though it's incidentally beneficial in the cases of, like, catching murderers or stopping sexual exploitation online, the surveillance overall still feels repressive. But, like, the ideals of prevention of crime are ostensibly something that everyone kind of wants. Like, you'd rather the crime not happen than have to torture someone to death after they've committed the crime. But the idea should be, in a theoretical stateless classes society, that crime is irrational, not that it's just self-policed by capitalist interests, or at the behest of. This doesn't happen without removing the capitalist material basis for the majority of crime. But, like, think about how a lot of child abuse happens, where it's not because of random strangers coming up and, like, beating your kids or something like that. It's because...
It's someone
It's because in the privacy of your own home... the home is your domain, your private domicile. You're beating your kids and no one knows about it. Like, absent, after the abolition of the family structure, whatever that may look like, if people know that you're mistreating your kid, like, they're not going to just stand for that. But it's different from, like, the police having a camera in your home and watching you to make sure you're not spanking your kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference between making the basis for crime irrational and unreasonable and making it so that people have a vested interest in the common good of all other people versus people having an interest in preserving themselves from the punishment of the capitalist state being used to train and mold our minds to be these ideal citizens, which is whatever they want it to be.
Not to be MLK posting right now, but it's the absence of unrest rather than the presence of justice, right? It's that type of thing.
Right.
Like, you want to avoid the punishment from surveillance, not...
Would you
like
also
you said, I like that. Where'd you get that term, the irrationality of crime?
I don't know. It's just sort of...
Put that in a fucking book somewhere.
Yeah, put that somewhere.
That's a good term. I like that. I like that. Crime is irrational. The goal is to make crime irrational.
Right.
Just to blankly add to what Chandran just said, though, it's why there is no unrest in this country of note.
Right.
Everyone would rather avoid unrest.
This ties back to the very first point I made, which is the idea of the current modern contemporary empire is to make the police station totally frictionless. The Imperial Boomerang comes back, you don't even fucking feel it. It's been so morphed by technology to be almost invisible in its manifestation around you.
And plus, to piggyback off the Imperial Boomerang concept, from the old barbaric punishments of the body as justice being replaced by punishment of the mind or the soul, as Foucault puts it, we see in America part of what suppresses unrest is not just this surveillance state, this threatened crackdown on dissent, but also the fact that the third world is the man in the fucking galley. The man being hung, the man being fucking his head chopped off by a guillotine. They're being brutalized in front of us, so we see and like, ooh, I don't want to... I'm glad I'm over here in the crowd watching and not in the fucking executioner's seat right now. So the punishment of the body is still very much a force at play. It's just the third world functions as the tortured man on the breaking wheel.
I think that's why, to make another broad point, I think it's why we, as communists in the United States, should be giving our critical support to, like, anti-hegemonic movements.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, like, for its own sake, if not, like, just so that, like, something fucking moves, you know?
So something fucking happens, right? Like, do I agree with the politics of the Iranian state? Not even a little bit, folks. Not even a little fucking bit. However, they are probably the only semi-functional national authority in the world that is actively opposing the interests of capital and imperialism. Like, that, period, right? The ostensibly
We're doing
Marxist
real
movements,
politic.
yeah, ostensibly Marxist movements are not, right? The People's Republic of China, they're not involved. They're not doing anything, right? They're not opposing this.
They're counting
because
their money. They're keeping their eyes on their own paper right now.
Also, partially because I will say, in a critique of China, like, they did the Panopticon 10 years ago.
I will say
They already did it.
I've heard some stories about Maoists who try to organize in China, like, against the revisionism of Deng, fucking
Deng?
whatever, Deng Xiaoping. I said that weird, but
Dang.
I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Deng Xiaoping.
Keep saying dumb.
I know it sounds like the poop, but anyways.
It's dang. I promise you.
Viewers,
Let's do this
tap
for a
in on
minute and
that
a
one.
half. Let's do this for a
Okay,
minute and a half.
so-
It's dang.
But, like, they've had this technology, and they, like, track Maoists going to their meetings and, like, lock them out of their apartments and shit. Like, it's like, you know, whatever you're feeling on, you know, trying to rebel against the state of China from inside at this particular moment in global politics, they're doing that allegedly.
They are doing it. All right. I think it's fair to say they're doing it. Like,
I mean, it's well known that they have the Great Firewall internet. Like, it's
China is. I'm not going to sit here though and say China is less free than the United States. They're probably just at the same level. America's probably a little worse in some ways.
yeah.
Dude, I wish I could work in a sweatshop, man. I fucking
Well, you gotta- they
wish
don't have
they
those
would
in-
send
they
me
don't-
to a goddamn sweatshop and
They
do the same
don't
thing every
have
single day,
those
all day.
anymore. They don't have those anymore. You got to go to Cambodia.
They got no sweatshops in China?
Yeah, see, they progress their material conditions, bro.
They did. No, but I mean,
the thing that sucks is, like, they kind of
they fucking did. They fucking did it. They did it. Now, I mean, to go back to, like, the passports and the border guards, right?
Mm-hmm.
To just, while we try to wrap it, we should probably start wrapping it up. But
There's one last monkey thing I want to tie in, but continue.
Okay, but like a great example is, like, how does this surveillance work in the third world? First off, the third world doesn't exist. We should make that super duper clear. I don't ascribe to, like, separating the world like that. Because
There
third
are
world is
oppressed
Maoist.
nations, though.
Yeah, there are oppressed
Underdeveloped
nations.
being underdeveloped by us.
If you go to the capital city of any fucking country on this earth, and I'm talking all the way down to literally bottom of the charts in every metric, the Central African Republic, you go into that capital city, they've got surveillance cameras on you all the time. The regime functions much like the first world does in terms of mass surveillance of people in those cities, in those very cosmopolitan centers, in otherwise very poor countries, very underdeveloped countries. Outside of those cities, you have border checkpoints, right? You're getting stopped by a soldier who you can either bribe, pay, or maybe pass papers if he's a legit guy, and continue on your way to the next outpost of the metropole. That functions much the same in the United States, where rural police departments act in that same surveillance footprint. If you're driving, it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to at least one other person who's listening. If you're on a long road trip and you're not on an interstate, you're just on a road, and you have out-of-state plates, and you have some bumper stickers on your car that make you stick out as a big city liberal, If you're going more than fucking 3 over, you're getting pulled over and you're getting questioned. What are you doing here? Where are you going? Why are you here? Why are you going this way? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's happened to me twice. That is part of that. It's the same idea as like the third world checkpoint. You're being searched. You're being identified. You're being tracked. That information goes into a police database in the United States. If you get pulled over and you don't get a ticket, you're still going into the database. They're describing you. They're describing your car. They're describing why they stopped you, what your affect was like. Were you genial to the police officer? Were you adversarial, et cetera, et cetera? I think it's why people who get pulled over serially, you know, like it's always that motherfucker on goddamn Instagram lives like, I'm getting pulled over for the 10th time. It's because one time you got pulled over and you mouthed off to the cop and now you're flagged as this guy's a fucking problem. If he does something wrong, pull him over because you're being punished by the carceral state. The same thing happens in those underdeveloped nations where if you constantly present an issue to the border guards, they're probably going to shoot your ass. Or they're going to extort you more and more and more every time. We're not so different from what we may consider to be, you know, the third world. I don't know where I was going with that, but I
don't know. I mean, the beauty of Marxism as like a system of analysis using, I guess, like the scientific method is that the national bourgeoisie of the poorest, most dirt broke, weak, fractured nation is still that nation's national bourgeoisie, and it still functions the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, I mean, obviously not the exact same way, but you know what I meant.
Where are you going with the monkeys?
Yeah, the thing I wanted to go with the monkeys. An example of like how observation isn't always necessarily a freaking cortisol spike for monkeys. You know, they can keep their cortisol levels low. They can continue mogging in the rainforest. Thank you for that.
I was just feeling the silence you left there.
No, I lost the goddamn...
This guy can't riff. This guy can't riff. He can't just do it off the cuff. He has to read it, everyone. He's got to read it.
Okay. So, in wild studies... in field studies... In field studies of primates in the wild... there's a concept called habituation, where essentially when humans go up to a completely wild primate, they're going to freak out. It's sort of what they naturally are inclined to do. They're like, what is that larger ape doing coming towards me? So there's a habituation period for pretty much every field study in the wild of primates where it's just getting the group of primates that you're studying used to human presence until there are no noticeable, like, adverse or negative reactions to your presence, and you can just sort of watch them. Whether or not, you know, this alters their behavior is kind of impossible to know because you don't know what they're like when you're not around.
When you're not there, yeah.
Because you have to be there in order to see them, so that's a whole other problem. But regardless, it's technically like a good thing because you can see them and they're not stressed out. They're just sort of chill with you there, and they're engaging in what we assume to be their natural behaviors, or at least our best approximation of it from what we can observe.
We'll never know if the monkeys can just talk.
Yeah, they clam up when you go around them. They know. But the negative side of this is that they become comfortable with humans, so when someone with bad intentions comes around, like a poacher, then they can get close, and the monkey is just like, oh, okay, just another person. I've never had problems with them in the past. I have no reason to. And then they get shot by the poacher and eaten. It's kind of like that, where it's not these technological advances, these concepts of prevention and knowledge, knowing and perceiving the other, this is not necessarily a bad thing. We're not saying go be a hermit, go smash all computers with a rock, although you should do that. What we're saying is that, like, it's the circumstances and the intentions of the parties controlling it that are the determining factor. You know, we're scientists, we're just here to observe you, versus we're poachers, we're here to kill you. Versus, you know, we're your community, we're concerned about you. Versus we're the police, we're going to beat you to death with batons. So, you know, that's my other monkey connection. So I hope that makes this episode qualify as a monkey episode.
Yeah, there we go. That
it's
qualifies.
Guerrilla Radio.
You know what,
Show. Every
everybody?
episode's a
I mean,
monkey
we're all
episode.
social animals. It's all the same functions.
You know what, folks? If you enjoyed this episode, you should check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Guerrilla Radio Show. Or
as well.
Visit our website, guerrillaradio.show, on any device. I don't give a fuck.
Any of them.
Also, tell your friends and family about this show. Tell your coworkers. This is a good coworker show, all right?
Honestly, it's a good coworker show.
It's a good coworker.
I hate to say
we've kind of just given up, and we are coworkers.
We've mellowed out of it. We're
coworkers now.
So, you know what? If your coworkers listen to Come Town, they can listen to us. Okay? So, tell people about the show.
If your coworkers listen to the Joe Rogan show, something that people actually still listen to,
we're good. We're good for that.
They can listen to us.
This is how we do our guerrilla marketing. We have to get people to show us to their coworkers. You listener, have to become the coworker that shows other coworkers annoying podcasts.
Yeah. You need to do that. But yeah, well, that was the once every 6 months Greg episode.
It's more than 6 months.
Fuck off. My once annually, Greg has an idea and wants to talk about it. And it somehow wins out over Austin talking about monkeys having sex again.
Hey, it's doing better than me. I think I've only ever written like 2 episodes of the show ever.
Let it be known, I still found a way to worm in monkeys having sex into this episode.
You did. You know what else you like to worm into having sex with?
Other men. Sorry, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
All right, goodbye, everyone.